Hello my friends, how's it going? So today I want to talk about the biggest problem that I see with a lot of people who watch my videos, and that is not feeling connected at work in a Japanese, at your Japanese workplace, right? So you're either working with Japanese people or working in a Japanese company in your home country. You could be in Japan or your home country. You're just working in a Japanese environment, and a lot of people who are in this kind of environment, sadly, they don't feel connected at work. So they feel disconnected. They do not feel connected with people at work. And when it comes to this, right, this problem, I hear it with, from clients, from people that, foreigners at my workplace. It's just a universal problem, and it just made me feel like I want to talk about it in this video, right? So I just want to address this, right? So the first thing I want you to think about is it a language problem or is it a cultural problem? So, in a lot of cases, guys, it could be both. So not knowing Japanese, the language, the basic level, and also not knowing Japanese manners could kind of be a combination. It could be, one or, just both of them combined, right? So I kind of want to talk about all these scenarios. Is it, what to do when it's only a language problem? What to do when it's just a cultural, you got to learn the manners kind of problem, or just both combined, right? So by the way, guys, the most common thing I see is in most cases, it's both of them. So many of my clients don't know a lot of Japanese and also don't know Japanese manners. So things like, for instance, indirect expressions, right? So if a Japanese person says, "I will think about it," it's like, never gonna happen. That's what it means, right? So these indirect communication is another thing we want to talk about. So anyways, going back to our topic, when it is a language problem, the only thing is learn basic Japanese, right? And I know you're going, yeah, I know, Sean, I know I got to learn basic Japanese, but I'm not going to just say that and go. I want to talk about how to do that. And the main reason why I'm making this video is because a lot of people know that they need to study Japanese, at least, to the point where they can communicate with people. So basic Japanese, but they don't know what to study. All right. So I'm going to look at my notes here, and I wrote one very crucial thing for all of you who's watching this channel. So if you're working in Japan or working with Japanese people back in your home country, this is very important. And so the point is, what do you study? A typical Japanese teacher, if you had one in the past, a lot of people, are kind of in the market, right? Kind of swinging around, getting other teachers to teach you. But a lot of people that are in this position, so learning Japanese with people one-on-one, they talk about, so they get all this vocabulary, but they don't know what to do with it. So there's the biggest problem. In my opinion, what we do is very different. And in my opinion, the reason why I don't do this, I'll give you the reason first and the solution, right? So the reason is, even if you have those have the list of words that you need to learn that your Japanese teacher gave you, you just don't know what to do with it, right? So you're bombarded with information. You know all these grammar rules, but you don't know how to use it in a sentence, right? So what do we do, right? So what in my opinion, what should you do? That's what I want to talk about today. And in my opinion, excuse me, I always like to let my clients think about what they say in their language when it comes to their industry. So like at work, if you're a software developer, right? My recommendation is, if you're in IT, at work, first of all, without me giving all the vocabulary for you, think about what kind of words you use at work in your language. So you're probably an English speaker if you're watching me in this channel, right? So if your native language is English, think about what you talk about with coworkers in English. So back in your home country, it could be the US, it could be Canada or Europe. Back in your home country at work, what was the vocabulary that you used in meetings, right? This is a very important part that I want you to think about, because the moment you have this setting, so have all the scenarios. So is it, I don't know, debugging if it's coding, right? Is it like a coding topic? Is it like a testing topic? If you're in another industry, like what is it, right? What is something that you constantly talk about? If you're in sales, I recently coached a guy who's in sales, right? Sales and marketing. Is it about negotiating, right? It's much better to think about those scenarios at work, than I don't think it makes sense for for the teacher that you're learning with to give you vocabulary, or like, it doesn't need to be a teacher. I don't think it's a good idea for you to just start learning random words and then try to make that in a sentence. This doesn't work that way, right? You want to think about what you use at work. You want to think about what's special for you. So what is your industry? Number one, right? Number one, what industry are you in? And number two, at work, what's the scenario? Like, what kind of words do you use, right? Are you constantly, doing door-to-door sales? Like, are you banging on doors and saying, do you want to try our product, right? You could say things like, お試し期間がありますがどうですか? Right? You probably won't come up with those ideas unless you start thinking about this scenario. Right, so that's a huge point that is a big point that I want to talk about, really crucial point, that I did want to address in this video, right? So that's number one. Number two, so we just talked about the language part. If it's a cultural problem, what do you do? This is another problem that I see with a lot of people, and it's less common because in order to learn culture, first you need to know the language, right? But when it comes to business manners in Japan, there are a lot of things that you need to know, because not everyone's gonna be direct, in Japan compared to a Western country, right? In the West, in my opinion, there's this culture where you bump into each other and solve it. So you're honest with each other, right? And then confront the problem. I think that's a better word to use. Confront the problem, talk about it, and solve it. Here, we don't do that. What we do is we keep silent. It's like we stay silent, or we kind of dodge the questions, the hard answers, right? And then kind of let time solve it. Why? It's just a cultural difference, guys. And why we do this is because we don't want any clashes. We don't want any problems, okay? So, one would say, a lot of other people that watch me, or a lot of people, other Western people that I talk to would tell me a lot of times that, well, if you're not talking about it, the problem's not going to be solved, right? But we're able to understand what the other person thinks, right? So instead of bumping into each other, instead of starting an argument, Japanese people kind of intrinsically understand each other to the point where they can kind of guess what the other person's trying to say, or try to convey, right? So that's the reason why Japanese people don't need to talk too much. I mean, it's a super homogenous society. A lot of people just intrinsically understand each other, right? And that's why we don't need to communicate too much. So that's kind of that's kind of a cultural part that's very different from the West, right? So that's another thing you gotta think about. So we've got language and culture right there. So, and guys, like I said at the beginning of this video, it's usually both combined. So language problem and cultural problem, the manners. So not knowing the language and not knowing manners combined. So in this case, it's very easy. Just start with the language. Because culture, you only can build on it after you know the language, right? So you can't, it's like saying, I'm trying to lose weight, but you're not even going to the gym yet, right? Or you're not exercising. So you got to start, quote unquote, exercising. And that exercise in business Japanese is learning the language. Because if you want to succeed, let's just say that you're losing weight, that kind of goal is being successful at work in a Japanese environment. So if you want to be successful at work, what's your exercise? It's learning basic Japanese, because once you learn the language, the manners kind of comes after that, right? You can't learn the manners before the language for some reason, right? It's just something that I notice with all my clients and all the people that I talk to here, right? All the foreigners that I talk to here. Kind of the language is always the foundation, right? So I want you to think about that. Anyways, guys, like I said in this video, I just wanted to talk about this pain point, a huge pain point that a lot of people, tell me, right? It's not feeling that connection. And guys, once you know a little bit of Japanese, and after you learn, after the manners part comes into play, you will have a connection little by little. And guys, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens gradually. And please, you got to be patient with this, right? It doesn't happen in a week or 2 weeks. It happens in months. It happens in years, right? But anyways, guys, don't forget to don't forget how important learning the language is, right? And guys, if this feels like a lot of information for you and you can't do it alone, and if you feel like you need my help, I do have a program where after completion, you're going to feel a lot more confident with business Japanese and also the culture. So I'm going to teach you both the language and the culture part one-on-one. Okay, so if you, I'll put a link. I'll put a link for the application form below. So if you feel like it's for you, just apply from that application form. All right, guys. Anyways, I hope this video helped you. And guys, please, if it did, talk about it with friends and family. I hope to see a lot of more happy faces in the future, and I really hope that you succeed in Japan. I love teaching you guys. It's getting all the comments is great. I love answering comments and all that. So if you do have any questions, please comment below. I'll talk to you in the next one, guys. Bye-bye.